Hi everyone. Today we're going to go ahead and finish up our function and form exercise. So last time we were together, we did tasks 1 and 2. So let's take a quick look at those again before we move on to new material. So task 1 says add a select box with the following options in this order. So choose your favorite snack, Doritos, Cheetos, etc. Right? So you should have that right here. Okay. Task 2 said in the function check info, add validation code for the select box. Which of the above four choices should result in an error message to the user? So if we look back at our check info function, right, we gave an example of validation code talking about like you're making an online purchase, things like that. Whoops, I forgot to put in my zip code. I hit submit or place order and it gives me an error, right? So that's what we want as well. If we look at our select box, right, the first option, the option where they just left it at choose your favorite snack is the one that should give us the error, right? So if we go back and look at our select box, right, we have four options, right? We have the word option right here, okay? And now the inner HTML is what shows up on the screen. So we've talked about this very briefly. Inner HTML is what you put between an opening HTML tag and a closing HTML tag. So the option, the closing tag is the one with the slash in it, right? So choose your favorite snack is what shows up in the select box, right? But what we did to make our work a little easier was we gave each option a value. So the first value was choose. Okay, so in our validation code, what we said was we said if the value for the select box is equal to choose, right, then we can go ahead and execute certain code so that the user gets an alert message. And then remember, for now, we're using the return to just end the function. We're going to talk about returns a little more in this video. So just again, a reminder, talking about the DOM, the document object model, right? Document.getElementById. In this document, look for the element with this specific ID, ID select fave snack. If its value is double equal to choose, then we'll have this alert pop up and we will end the function. So let's just see that in play, right? Let me go ahead and put in a name, right? My name is student. I click I'm done, right? I get an alert that says pick a favorite snack. Okay. I pick Doritos and everything else works fine. Okay. Now, in task 3, right, it says create a new helper function. So we have not talked about this idea yet of what is a helper function, but we have already used this in this code. So if we take a look down here, just after our validation code, right, we have some comments. Let's take a look at these. It says add the name to the summary text, add the bedtime to the summary text, add the comment about their sleep amount to the summary text. Okay, so there's a couple of things that are happening here. All right, the first thing is this variable of display text. Okay, right, so display text is getting a lot of stuff added to it. Okay, let me double check something here. It says add the bedtime to summary text. Oops, let me just check that real quick. Yeah, that's there. Okay, that's right. Okay, let's talk about display text. So if we look at the start of our function, we have a variable. I'm going to change that to let, just to stick with what we've been doing in class together. Display text starts off by equaling nothing. Remember, when two quotation marks are put together, we call that the empty string. So right now, remember, when you see a variable, think of it as a box, right? Display text is the name of that box. Inside of that box right now is nothing. That's what the empty string represents. And so what we're doing here in this summary part is we're adding things into display text. So the first thing we say is display text equals what it previously was, right? Which was nothing. But we're going to add onto that a string that says name And then this name variable, let me change that to a let as well. Okay, I'm going to change all of these to let just to keep that consistent. Okay. Well, what's in the name variable? Well, from the input form, there's something with the ID of ID text name. Let's go down and see. Hey, it's right here. This text box has the ID of ID text name, right? What we put in this text box, remember, is the value. So whatever the user types into that text box goes into this variable name. We take that variable name and we add it into this sentence that we're forming right here. Okay, right? So we are taking display text, which currently had nothing in it. We're adding in this string, right? What the user types into the text box, whatever name they write, I wrote student, is also a string. And now, this is kind of wild, we can add HTML code in as a string as well, and this will give us a line break. Okay, so if we look back at our output, you'll notice all three of these are on different lines. Okay, and that's because of these BR tags that we have here. Okay, now the next part says add the bedtime. Okay, so we make a variable called bedtime, right? So again, using the DOM model, right? We say, okay, go to that select box, right? And grab the value. So if I look at the select box, right, you'll notice that we did not write value in these option tags, right? It doesn't say value equals 9 or 9 o'clock or anything, okay? So if you don't write anything as a value, whatever the inner HTML is for the selected option becomes the value for the select box, okay? So let's go back and take a look. All right, so what are my options here? All right, so we can take a look. We got a bunch here, 1030, right? I do it, boom, 1030. Okay, all right, so let's go back, right? 1030, right? That becomes the value for this select box if that's what I select. Okay, so again, that goes into this variable bedtime. All right, so what are we doing now? Display text. Display text is going to equal what it was before, right? Which was this whole line from line 58. That was what display text was before. And we're going to add to that the string bedtime plus the variable bedtime, which has the value from the select box followed by a line break. And that's how we get these first two lines. Okay. Now, the last line is the tricky part, right? Because that's based on this question right here. If I say I'm getting, 8 hours of sleep, right? It updates and tells me I'm getting the right amount. If I'm doing 3 hours of sleep, oh no, I need more. If I'm getting 12 hours of sleep, you're getting too much sleep. Okay, how does that happen? Well, let's go down here, right? Add the comment about their sleep amount to the summary text. So we have a variable called sleep amount, right? And so sleep amount, right, we take whatever number they type into that text box. Now in the handout, it said to use this thing called eval. This is actually not used anymore. So let's go ahead and change that to capital N number, which is something we talked about in our calculator exercise, right? Number is the modern standard. Now for what we're doing, it actually won't make any difference, right? I'll type in my name again is student. I'm getting 23 hours of sleep a night. Okay, so that still works. It doesn't change anything there. Okay, but yeah, let's change that to number. Okay, this is where we get to the helper function part and all of that fun stuff. Okay, so display text, first of all, notice the difference here. We did not write equals display text. This works fine and will allow you to keep adding on to a variable, okay? But what's even faster than that is using this symbol, plus equals. And we talked about this when we did our variable trace exercise, right? This is how we can add on to a variable, right? Like we were doing like x plus equals 2, right? So take the value of x, add 2 to it. Well, this works the same way even if I'm adding on strings of text, okay? Right? So display text plus equals does the same thing we're doing here, right? Display text is going to be what it was plus whatever new stuff I want to add to it. So this is a little shorthand for what we did up here, and it's really nice and convenient. Okay, now what we're doing here though on line, for me it's line 66, okay, is get sleep comment sleep amount. Okay, so there's two kind of key things happening here. The first is get sleep comment is an example of a helper function. Okay, so let's go take a look at what get sleep comment does. All right, so get sleep comment is this function right here. Okay, where whatever we send into it, and this is kind of the second big idea, right? Whatever we send into it takes the place of num hours. Num hours is what we call a parameter. I'm going to write a comment here. Okay, num hours is a parameter. Okay, a parameter is a placeholder. Num hours is an example of a parameter. A parameter is just a placeholder. Okay, meaning that it has no actual value right now. Okay, right? So when you see this in here, if num hours less than 7, else if num hours less than 9. Currently, num hours could be anything. Okay, a parameter is a placeholder. It has no actual value. It's a way for you to write your code, right? So that when the user does use this function, right, something will take the place of num hours. Okay, so let's just look at this for now, and then we'll come back to what num hours, what's happening to it. Okay, so what do we have here? It says if num hours is less than 7, it says return this string right here. You need more sleep. Okay, so let's go back to get sleep comment. All right, where it was being called, right? So right here is an example of calling a function, right? I'm currently typing this inside of the function checkinfo, right? Inside of this checkinfo, I am using this helper function get sleep comment, okay? Right? This is where I'm calling this function to now run. So when the computer processes our file down to my line 67. When it gets to this step, it is now going to say, hey computer, go ahead and run this function, get sleep comments. Okay, and when you run this function, right, again, this is called calling a function, whatever the variable sleep amount is, that is going to go into the function get sleep comment. This is called an argument. I am sending sleep amount into get sleep comment. And when I send in sleep amount, it takes the place of num hours. Okay, so this is why whatever I type into this box, right, ends up taking the place of num hours. Okay, and so when I say something ridiculous like I'm getting 23 hours of sleep, how does it know I'm getting too much sleep? Well, because the way this function is set up, right, I'm checking, is 23 less than 7? No. So we skip that. We go to the else. If, is 23 less than 9? No, right? And so then we go to this else, and there's nothing to check. So this is what gets returned. The string, you're getting too much sleep. So this whole string goes in right where get sleep comment was called, right? So what gets added on to display text? It was the string, you're getting too much sleep. Okay. And then the last thing we do, and this is something we'll talk a lot more about in the future, is I have this variable. I've saved a lot of stuff to this variable display text. How come it doesn't show up on the screen? That's the last part of the function here. Put the summary text on the page, right? I'm going to take display text and I'm going to put it on the screen. Now, this is one example of how to put something onto the screen. Document.getElementById. I have created something down at the bottom, right, of my HTML, right, near the bottom of my body. It is a div. Remember, div is short for like a divider. Okay, it has no actual value right now, right? There's nothing in the inner HTML. Now mine actually has a space, but let me delete that. Okay, there's nothing in this div tag, right? If I write something here, I'll say hello, if I write something here now and I go back and refresh, now it shows up. Okay, right? Now it's there. Okay, that's the inner HTML of this div. That is what shows up on the screen. What our function is going to do with its very last line is it is going to replace whatever the inner HTML of this div was with the variable display text. Okay, now whether that inner HTML is the word hello or it was literally nothing like it was before, it's going to replace it with display text. So if I go back and run through this again, right, I'll do a reasonable 6 hours of sleep and I like Cheetos, right? The word hello is gone. I have replaced the inner HTML with everything that was saved into the variable display text. Okay, so this was a lot of setup to all talk about the idea of a helper function like get sleep comment. Okay, we're going to make our own helper function where we're going to return a little comment based on what snack we pick. Okay, so we're going to make a function, right, called get fave snack message. Okay, so it says returns a comment in the form of a string about the input snack. Okay, we're going to use the word snack as our parameter. So again, snack is going to be a placeholder for Doritos, Cheetos, or fruit snacks. Okay, and so again, this is all going to be based on the values that the user selects from the select box, whether it's Doritos, Cheetos, or fruit snacks. Okay, all right, so let's go make that helper function. So again, get fave snack message is what we're going to call it. Okay, so let's go up here. I'm going to do this before check info, okay, but I can do it after get sleep comment. So somewhere here in the middle, I'm going to put my mouse cursor at the end of the get sleep comment function. I'm going to hit enter twice and I'm going to start off with a comment. So returns a string based on favorite snack selected. Okay, so this is going to be a function called get fave snack. Was it comment or message? It was message. Okay. Okay, and my parameter is snack. Okay, so let's go through our options, right? Now, the first option is to choose, right? Meaning they didn't select a favorite snack, right? We've already taken care of that, right? If they didn't select a favorite snack, we're not even going to run our helper function, right? Because of this return. Okay, so let's go ahead and just ignore that and just say if snack double equals quote Doritos. Now remember, that's the value of the Doritos option. You have to be careful with your spelling. You have to be careful with your capitalization. If I go back and look, right, the inner HTML, I have Doritos capitalized. That's what shows up on the web page, right? But the value, I made it lowercase d. Okay, that's what I have to make sure I'm typing it the same as. So let's go back. Okay, if the snack is Doritos, let's return a string that says, quote, you like Doritos. And we'll keep these short and simple. Okay, else, meaning like otherwise, if their snack was Cheetos, curly bracket, hit enter. We'll say something like, how about, I was going to say something about like cleaning your hands. So how about make sure to clean that Cheeto dust off. Okay. And then our only other option is the fruit snacks. So I don't have to do an else if, because if it wasn't Doritos, if it wasn't Cheetos, then it has to be fruit snacks, right? So we can just say else, and we can say return something. We can be silly. We can say, what's your favorite fruit snack flavor? Right? You strawberry, your cherry, blueberry, right? What's your go-to fruit snack? Okay. Okay, so this is our helper function created, but currently it is not being used. So I said the word call earlier, right? There's two things with functions. There is defining a function and there is calling a function, okay? So what we just did is we have defined the function getFaveSnackMessage, but nowhere in my document have I called it. This applies to every function you make, by the way. So for example, when I click check info, right? This is the definition of check info, right? I always think of it like, you know, if you have a dog, right, you're going to teach the dog how to fetch, right? That's the defining part. That's what we're doing right here, okay? But when you're out at the park, you're going to tell the dog, hey, fetch, right? That's the calling, right? So where do we tell our dog to actually go fetch? Where do we actually use check info, right? We have it with the click of the button, right? We have an on click with our button down here that actually calls check info to run, right? So again, here I'm not writing the word function with this event, right? Because check info gets defined in the script tag. That's where I write the word function. Here is an event that will run the function, or I'm calling the function, okay? Now, within a function, you can call other functions. So again, this is where helper functions come in, right? So if we go to check info, before we put the summary text on the page, let's go ahead and add a comment about their snack choice. So after I add the get sleep comment, okay, I'm going to say add the comment about their favorite snack. So I'm going to make a variable, and you can call variables whatever you want, but I'm going to try to keep it easy, right? They're picking their favorite snack. I'll call it snack choice, okay? And where am I going to get the snack choice from? Well, it's going to be from our select box, right? ID select fave snack. Whatever the value is of this select box is going to come from the values here. So I will say, right, let snack choice equal document dot get element by ID parentheses quote ID select fave snack dot value. Okay, and I will add onto display text. So display text plus equals get, and now I love VS Code, right? I type the word get and it goes, hey, you looking for some of these things? Yes, I am. I'm looking for my helper function, get fave snack message, parentheses, and I'm going to send in as the argument to take the place of my parameter, my variable snack choice. Okay, so remember, code is read top to bottom. Snack choice, line 83 for me, this is going to run first. We're going to first get the value from the select box. Then we're going to run our helper function, get fave snack message, and we're going to send in this variable snack choice. That gets added on to display text. So let's go ahead and save that, right? Let's go back and let's refresh. And my name is student. I go to bed at 10:30. I get 7 hours of sleep, and I like Cheetos. Okay, and there you have it, right? Except, wah, wah. That's ugly, right? What did I forget to add here? Let's go back and take a look. Okay, so what did my other lines have where I was adding on to display text that I didn't do previously, which is the line break, right? So you can write HTML code in as a string and it will run it. So this is something you can do within JavaScript, okay? So what I'm going to do here is where I added in the comment about their sleep, right? Right after that, and so you might want to make sure your cursor is before the semicolon. If you want to be, if you're worried about stuff like that, just delete the semicolon and now just add quote BR, okay, a BR tag, and then put the semicolon back at the end. Okay, so go ahead and do that, and let's go back and check. Okay, student, I go to bed at 11, I get 6 hours of sleep, I like fruit snacks. And there you have it. There's my helper function, okay? Some of you might be wondering, why are we doing this? Why do I need a helper function, right? Well, a helper function is a way of kind of separating your tasks, right? The goal of this function is to kind of like get the summary for the entire form, okay? That's what check info does, right? If I have a specific task, I want to put that in a special place, right? And the other thing too then, this example, it's not as helpful, but in the future, you're going to see that we're going to have functions that we can use again and again in our code, right? So like now that I have get fave snack message, if I was making some other type of web page in the future, right, I could just copy and paste this function into that file because I know this works, okay? Okay, so that was 3, and then we actually already did 4. Okay, so we already did that, all right? So, job well done, everyone, and feel free to go back in this video, pause at any moment, right, if you need to see some of the code, okay? But yeah, that's it for now, okay? And I will see you all next time. Bye.